Hi, it's Kim. I decided in late March to try to force an elephant ear in water like I've done hyacinth bulbs and other kind of Paperwhites and things like that. I thought, hey, I usually grow an elephant ear through the year, so I'm going to try that. So I got a big, large vase. This one's about a foot high. It has a flaring top. I figured I'd have to have something shaped like that so I could get it out if it did grow. And this is the big elephant ear that I got. I washed some gravel, put a towel down in the sink and washed it and everything. You don't want your gravel going down the sink. And I put it in there and kind of placed it. I treated it as if I would one of the hyacinths. I put the water level up onto the bulb, but not covering it or anything like that. I couldn't find any kind of directions, anything to do it, but hey, I figured it's an experiment. I'm going to try to do it. Let's see what happens. I used the clear glass so that I could see through, watch roots forming as they formed, and just kind of winged it. So I put it in my plant room that faces the south, so it's a fairly light window and everything, and set it in there. And that's what my experiment was. So I watched it over the next several weeks, and I did see some action. Not much, but some action. Now here's a kind of a close-up. You can see the little green point start to form. It maybe started to form in about a week or so and kind of popped out of the top of the bulb like that. Now there were little things that I could see on the side. Now I am assuming that is a growth point, those little green things off the side, and I watched in the lower portion to see if I could ever see any roots forming. But I never did. In the whole time that I had it in there, about 6 weeks, never did see any roots growing through that gravel. Now eventually on top, the little green stalk started to push up, but only that initial one on the top. You can see that little point there, and kind of the extra leaves that may or may not be sprouting later. That little tiny nubbin came up from the side, but it never got any bigger, only that top central one. So you can see about what it did when I started considering it's been so many weeks, it's not going to do anything. So I just decided it's time to just pull the plug on this, and let's just take it out of the water and put it in soil. Now when I bought these bulbs, I bought them in a set at Sam's Club. There were 2 in a set, so I saved one to do in soil, one to attempt in water, and overall I'd say the trying to force it in water just didn't work. Now I may or may not try that again, but it didn't work for me. Have you ever tried to force them? Didn't work for me. Let me know if you've done it. So I had these big, gigantic pots in the rear patio that I had planned. Now that one is the other giant elephant ear that I had not sprouted previously. It's been lying in the pantry in the dryness and coolness, just kind of waiting to be planted. It's huge. It's a very, very big bulb, bigger than the other one. But I planned to plant it about 2 inches base, the top underground. Now, with the size of this bulb, I had to get a hole about 8 inches, 10 inches deep so that I could get it deep enough. And this is, decent, fluffy soil. It's real rich soil. I did sprinkle some of the bulb tone in it. I think it should really do wonders for this. And I guess I can see the difference in the reaction of these bulbs when I plant them. Well, I use bulb, corm, tuber, whatever these things are. But most of the time I say bulb because it's just a habit. But I put these all covered up with the soil, nice and fluffy. Nice and fluffy so the roots could grow easily. And I added some extra new soil over because I didn't have it really covered up very much. But I had one of those, I don't know, I think it's an 8-quart bag from the store that I poured into this huge container that I have. And that gave it a little bit of extra layering on the top. But I think it looked pretty good. That is, this was not the one that was in the water. This is the one that I'm straight planting in soil. Now, I'm constantly rooting the little Tradescantia, the Zabrina style. I love those. Had a little purple heart too. And I have these little containers I got at the thrift store. They look like little tiny flower pots. And I just usually line the windowsill and go snip off some branches. They'll root practically overnight. I know there are some that I've seen get roots overnight. They start them. And with these Tradescantia, if you've ever used those, you can just pinch them off, stick them down into loose soil like that, and they'll grow. They're so easy to make new plants. It's ridiculous. So anyway, I just put these, I plan to do this in both. I put these down into the soil. Don't waste that water. Just go ahead and use the little leftover water that you have from those little containers. And I just push them down into the soil, kind of in a circle around the elephant ear. I've done that before, and it grows into a wonderful cascade of the Tradescantia so that it kind of overflows the container. It will reach the ground, at least in my past, it reached the ground and just looks wonderful. I love that color. I love everything about the Tradescantia. But my other one now that was in the water, since this was glass, I was afraid of it breaking. My husband held it tightly and firmly while I took care of setting this one into the other planter. But you can see there are no roots. Nothing ever grew out of those. Those little things that you see are some of the gravel that was stuck to it. But no roots ever formed. All I got was that one single stalk out of the top. So this is the one that's going into the other planter on the other side of the door. Now, I didn't see any sign of rotting. It wasn't mushy. It was still nice and hard. So I had hopes that it would still grow. So I just basically did the same thing. Dug down, got it covered up. There, you can see in this particular pot, there's some sedum in there. That's some that I've pinched off on some sedum. But sedum is so easy to grow. I can't remember which variety that this was. It may have been one of the Campfire or Firecracker series. I know I had one called Dark Embers, but I don't think it was the Dark Embers. But anyway, that's beside the point. I just root that, and then I can plant that over in the side garden bed. But I'm going to root, in fact, I have rooting now some Wandering Jew to put in this. I'm sorry, Tradescantia. That's not a good name to call it. But anyway, I'm doing the same thing over here so that I can also have a nice cascade around the elephant ear. Now, if these elephant ear grow very tall, they may crowd out my patio door, and I may have to pull them apart a little. But that's the one that was in the water. That's the one you're looking at now. I've got that single little stalk coming out of it. Now, right there, I've got some amaryllis I'm going to have to plant. But there's the other one that we're starting both on the same day. One in the soil, fresh. This one has been in water for 6 weeks and didn't do anything but that one. I'll probably film the planting the amaryllis later. But Here are these plants about, I think this was about a week, maybe 10 days later, and we do have the emergence of the first leaf. It's a little tattered looking, but looks pretty good. And then this one that went straight into soil, it's already got several stalks starting. And now you can see how its leaves are shaped and forming. It really looks good. The Tradescantia is growing well in that. I'm really pleased about how that looks. But water didn't work for me. Let me know if you have any different result. But water, nope.